we've brutalized this planet. And brutalized the peoples whose lands are home to the resources that this wealth depends on, and that's, I think, another defining feature of the times. And I wish we had ended that war before, So, and then, so those are what I know now, and then I'll stop.
Go on forever.
We're just getting started.
Just getting started.
Yeah, it's good seeing you guys. Thanks for coming out. It's really good to see you guys. Thank you all for coming out. I just want to say one thing. You'll never know how much the actions you take are going to affect the people. I mean, it's really great to be here to see how much our crazy stunts we cooked up on the plane affected you all. And I'm so glad that you have benefited from it, and I hope continue to benefit from it. And yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Good luck, and don't be afraid to do crazy things.
I'm not sure which question I really want to tackle here. I think I'm going to kind of combine a couple of things. People have asked me a lot as a staff member here on campus. One of the perennial questions, especially at this time of year, as we get closer to graduation, is, what do you do after school? What is life after Davis like? And so for many of you who are graduating and trying to reconcile your activist ways, your activist tendencies, with what you're going to do to make a living, and have all those pressures from external sources really kind of whispering in your ear, I think that I'll just kind of share a little bit of my personal story, and I think that laced with this is really also kind of a, I don't want to say warning, but a kind of my advice to current activists as well. So I guess I'll start with the advice first up front, which is and we talk about it a lot on our campus, especially in the resource center staffs, and everyone knows when we tell each other that you really need to be cautious about your self-care. And I just want to say, the reason that I so adamantly try to instill in the students that I know and my colleagues as well about self-care, and I try to role model it as best as I can, is really because I feel like after 4 years of being on this campus and doing the work that we did, that all of us were a part of, that it really took its toll on me, kind of emotionally, psychologically, physically, in a lot of different ways, and not just the hunger strike, but just like Gopal mentioned, there were continued things. I had totally forgotten about Cause Amanel, but I remember, I met Jose in the audience hammering the shanty together in the patio of the MU. A lot of our friendships were forged in the midst of these activist actions. The group of us, I think most of us participated in actually protesting Picnic Day for, up until very recently, it was the only time I'd ever attended Picnic Day. Was when we actually marched in the parade and protested. So there was no outlet at the time, for me, none of the traditional outlets for fun and recreation that the university had were things that actually instilled any joy or happiness. And I think that I got the joy and the happiness from meeting people that could really relate to the struggles that I was going through. But I think that was a dangerous sort of cycle for myself, and I don't know if anyone out there can relate to that, but it became all-consuming. And so I think that the one regret I have about my whole time at Davis is maybe that I didn't take advantage of my education and the opportunities to actually engage with some really excellent scholars that I took classes from, that I didn't go to those office hours, that I didn't do all of the reading that I probably should have. And because I sacrificed that in the name of activism, and for myself at the time, that was what I felt was better for me. But after graduating, it really left me exhausted in every way, shape, and form that I could imagine. And I don't think that, I think that I spent a lot of time trying to get over my 4 years at Davis instead of really thriving. And so what I tell a lot of students, and many of you know, I'm kind of a parent's worst nightmare, I would say. I tell students that they should travel, they should do what they want to do, they should go out there and enjoy life and not worry so much about the university or worry so much about trying to fix all of the world's wrongs. And I say that not because I try to discourage people from being activists, but because I really want people to be able to embrace their lives and their freedom and to, for a moment, really experience all of the privileges that graduating from an institution like Davis will give you. And so if you're able to travel, if you're able to get to know other people, if you're able to go to other communities, I think that is one of the best educations and such a great, I think for me, it was such a great gift in my own life. It was healing. It provided me the space to really learn even more than I'd ever anticipated. And it was something that actually did eventually circle me right back to activism, because you can run, but you can't hide. Your activist ways will always be there. And I think after I took enough time to sort of sort through the thoughts and feelings in my head and regenerate, I was right back at it. And you'll find that place for yourself if you give yourself the time. So I just think that self-care for me means a whole lot more than just taking a nap or making sure you're eating your 3 squares a day. It's really a much bigger picture than that, and just pace yourself. There's a lot to conquer out there, and in terms of activists and actions. So I would say travel, get to know a lot of different people in a lot of different spaces, and enjoy your life.
Yeah, I'm falling somewhere in between Paul and Andrea in terms of what I'm feeling about that comment, because there's both sides of the same coin, in the sense that we tried to stop the Gulf War. We went out on the highway, we were out there, and we tried to stop it. Obviously, we failed. Not just we, in terms of Davis. I'm talking about the whole country. The world was protesting. It wasn't enough. And on one hand, I want to say, echo what Rob said before he left, which is, be crazy or be creative, because part of when we were during those times, what we were talking about is how could we push the envelope a little more? Maybe marches weren't enough. Maybe demonstrations weren't the right approach. We needed to do something different to stop such a drastic action on the part of the government that now we're paying the price for, testing the weapons on the Palestinian brothers and sisters over there, and then they bring them back here into communities, and the surveillance. The police state that we're living under now, we didn't really have a concept. We imagined, but it pales compared to where we are now. But obviously we have to, at the same time, like Andrea said, celebrate our victories like today and replenish ourselves, because it is an exhausting thing. I think most of us got sick, just sick not just physically, but also, spiritually, emotionally, whatever you want to, on all the levels that you want to talk. So you have to find balance, definitely, and you have to see where you can make the most change realistically, because it's not, you can't do everything. You're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do. So, but you can play a very important part by being a small part in a big, huge movement. So if you can somehow maintain a realistic approach, I know it's hard because we're all idealists, and we want the best and we want it in our lifetime. And that's not necessarily going to happen. As Jose said, it takes not just 6 months, not 6 years. It's a lifetime commitment, and it's generation after generation.
But we don't want to scare you all. We actually want you guys to be involved, but there's different ways of being involved throughout your life. There's different ways of enacting change. You just have to find your way, and that's ultimately, I think, what we're all sort of talking about. I mean, I sort of, after the Humble Shop was my first year. I was like lady, I think literally like 6 months in UC Davis, and I somehow got myself involved. What I remember from that was that I think I actually met you guys at the cause group. I think like the night before, or 2 nights before. Yeah, 2 nights before, and I was like, interesting. Who are you guys again? You guys are going to do what? And I actually reflect back on that, because I was like, why did I do that? After, you guys didn't come to invite, you guys came to announce, and I was like, wait a minute, something's not, it didn't feel right for me at that moment. And I've been thinking about that, and I want to sort of share this with you guys, because I think this is one of the things about finding your own way. is that when we heard about it, and when we realized that there was a lot of the issues that we as Mecha, at that point I was the coordinator of Mecha, or co-coordinator of Mecha, that we were sort of arguing for, fighting for, doing demonstrations on the Spanish, the discrimination on the Spanish department and other things. You know, I really, you know, loved the fact that it was part of the demands at that point. You know, but part of what I was learning is about, was about empowerment, right? It was like this idea that we need to be a powerful, you know, a powerful community. But I was like, well, we can't, you know, we couldn't allow for our issues to be dealt with by somebody else. It was like, power happens through action. It was like, we needed to do that. And so I actually remember that because it was like, oh, we need to be a part of that. So we need to be part of that as well. And then we had a meeting after that meeting, so it's like, well, how are we gonna react to this? Because we couldn't just allow it to just go on without our voice, without our involvement. And I remember I had a conversation with P. Wilson, who was the other co-coordinator of Mecha. And when we agreed, okay, well, Jose, you do the hunger strike and I'll be involved with the negotiator, remember that? And so, but, you know, because that thought about empowerment is not an academic thing, it's not something you read about, it's something that you have to do. You have to do in the moments where you're called to do them. That's power. You know, 10 years ago, and there was something else that happened after my UC Davis experience. I was in DC working for a member of Congress, doing all whatever, and what people do in DC. And at that time, 10 years ago, there was this guy named Lou Dobbs. Remember that guy? He's still on Fox News, but before, he was actually on CNN. And so, you know, back then, he had like this aura about him, right? He had like this thing about, I'm Lou Dobbs, and I'm gonna talk about business stuff, whatever. But night after night after night, you know, this guy was just going after immigrants. He was like very anti-immigrant, poisoning the well. He was like talking about immigrants being like disease-ridden, people that were, you know, leeches. I mean, it was just horrifying to watch, right? But 10 years ago, nobody, you know, in the political class in DC had, you know, something to like actually go up to him and confront him because he was so respected, right? You know, by society at that point. And I remember, it's like, you know, this can't happen. This can't be, you know, we can't be allowing this to happen. So what I did was I started a website called BlueLatinos.org, and the very first petition was to tell CNN to fire Lou Dobbs. That was a petition. It was something that I had learned from my MoveOn days. I worked for MoveOn.org, and I sort of knew a little bit about, you know, getting petitions going. So I did that because I was like, we cannot just be silent when this guy has this incredible platform to just, you know, say all these negative things about immigrants and our experience. And I just could not see myself, you know, being silent. So that petition was there. It, you know, it got some press. And 10 years ago, last week, he, you know, it was when he invited me to come on his show, you know, to talk about the petition. And I remember getting the call from, you know, the producers of CNN saying like, we hear you have a petition to fire Lou Dobbs, and he wants to talk to you about that. And they gave me a week's notice, right? And I was really nervous because, you know, that's just the way I am. I was nervous about it, but I was like, I have to do it. Some people, you know, advise me to not do it. This guy's going to eat you up. You know, that's what he does. He's a professional. You're just like an amateur. You're just nobody to him, right? But I remember, it's like, well, you know, we have to speak truth to power, no matter what form, shape, or size. And